Welcome back to another special episode of the Hiring and Empowering podcast. Today, Molly takes you inside of working and owning your job descriptions. For more on that, here's Molly McGrath.
Welcome to Module 4, Understanding, Owning, and Working Your Job Descriptions. This is one of my favorite modules to teach. And we intentionally put this in week 4 because you're starting to see the breakdown and focus on who's doing what to reach goal as you get more systematized in your communication, in your daily huddles, in your project and process management, in your weekly stakeholders meeting. By now, the attorney should be freed up from running the day-to-day. The daily huddle is shining the flashlight on the breakdown and who's doing what to reach goal, where there is an overlay of multiple people touching parts of the process. So make certain to watch this week's open coaching hour recording, Educate to Motivate and Job Descriptions, where I work with John Rubian. After this training, it's in the back end of the academy and you'll see it there. And as always, come to Open Coaching and Growing Hour for support on getting clear on who's doing what to reach goal. You'll hear multiple conversations of, is this pre-engagement, post-engagement, especially as you grow and start to exceed monthly revenue, you're going to get at a capacity issue and discern when it's time to hire. As a side note, remember, there is an entire hiring process module and the back end of the academy as well. So if you're an office manager or you're the CEO and it is your job to start hiring and recruiting, I give you my entire Smart Hire solution. I believe there's 15 modules in there, so you never have to depend on a legal recruiter to support you with minding, finding, and recruiting rockstar talent to free you all up from a place of capacity. All right, now let's hit it with understanding and owning and working your job description. You know you have full clarity and ownership in your job description when your job description is alive and in action, which means in your time template and daily, weekly time chunking. Note, this is very, very, very common that you may be wearing multiple hats in your firm, maybe 2 or 3 possible roles in the firm. You might be the intake coordinator, office manager, and marketing coordinator. This is exactly why we do this module and the next one that we move into on time and money and creating your ideal week and time template. So stick with me. There is a process to this. So here's how this goes. Step 1, pull out your current job description or job descriptions. Most people come to me when I have them do this and they present me with the job ad they responded to when applying for the job. And there is where the confusion lies. There is the job ad and then the job description. The purpose of the job ad is to attract an ideal client to the job. And the job description is your work plan that is outlining your KPIs, your key performance indicators, to outline your roles and goals. In the final module, Module 12, I will walk you through suggested KPIs and key performance indicator for every role in the firm. So don't freak out if this is the first time you're hearing that term and you don't know what that means. I'm just giving you a heads up on that. That's when you know you've nailed your job description and it's in your bone and your blood. Remember in LFAB, the motto is, it's always easier to edit than create. We want to give you a framework and a jumping off and a starting point. I often hear from people, I'm waiting on the attorney to give me my job description, or I hear from the attorney, well, I need to create the job description for my people. This is the essence of Law Firm Admin Bootcamp. Take this off your attorney's plate. This is your area for you to shine. and become the everyday hero for your attorney, to become a legal leader, to become an entrepreneur, and taking the pressure off the entrepreneur and the attorney. You know their calendar. Often we are hired with the attention of X job description. What I hear is once we get into the firm, 2x4s are swinging everywhere. Life happens. So-and-so quit, so-and-so fired, so-and-so got promoted. And I hear I haven't had the opportunity to start working my job description and what I was hired for. That is okay. But now is the time to get back to the basics, get back to the job description and what you were hired for, and at least pull it off the shelf and get it in conversation and communication with your attorney. So understanding your job description, number one, again, you pull out the ad. Number two, pull out the job description you have now. If you don't have a job description, here's step 3. Use the sample in the back end of the academy in the job descriptions folder and then back into it. Now I want you to combine what is true in the job ad to the working job description, and this will give you a starting point. If you have multiple job descriptions you're working on, client services and marketing coordinator, intake coordinator and office manager, intake coordinator and paralegal, I want you to do it for each position. Do not put them all into one where it's like, well, I'm the only one here, I'm doing all of it. Don't fall into that trap. Create separate job descriptions for each of the duties for you, even if it's 2 hours a day, 2 hours a week, whatever it might be. If you are doing management, create one for that. If you're doing marketing, a separate one for that. Client services, a separate one for that. Paralegal. Treat this like quality control, quality assurance project. Like you were hired to be an audit on efficiency and effectiveness in the firm. You're being brought in as a consultant. If you are the team leader, have everyone in the firm do this. Don't put the pressure on you. Empower people to do that. And then check in during your weekly stakeholders meeting on how you're all doing with this project. Give a deadline and then have a mini workshop to come together on this. If there are bullet points in where you are like, what the heck is this? I'm confused. I don't even know what this means. Get an old school, yellow highlighter out and highlight it in yellow and save it for the 90-minute workshop when you come together to talk about it. Don't stop everything and interrupt the attorney or other team members about this. This will give you a working framework for how to get started on this. And as you go through your day, you're going to start adding things to it too that maybe weren't in the job ad or the job description and don't have a bullet point. This is how we create it in real time. There is a saying, in order for anyone to have extreme ownership in anything, they have to be part of the creation. And this is what I love about this module. This is how you own your job description when you are part of the creation of it. So go back to basics. Pull out a legal pad or a document to track your daily tasks and activities. Write them right on that job description that you have, with a focus on capturing information that can provide clarity and confidence in your job role. Things that we didn't even realize when we hired you that need to be there. And then I want you to time track for each bullet point. Don't make it into a massive project, but how long it is realistically taking you. Whether it's billing or binder assembly or drafting or follow-up calls or intake calls, which include setting up the file and then updating the CRM and then adding it to blah, blah, blah. Not taking all that for granted as the intake process. Running weekly meetings, running the daily huddle, things of that. Make sure you're tracking them because the time tracking will give you clues if you are at capacity, if this is realistic. And this may be why we're not reaching goals. So working your job description, take what you have right now and put your job description in your calendar and start to try to create time blocking. So now you have your job ad, you have your job description. They're in action right now. We're playing with it in preparation for that workshop that we're going to do as a team on job descriptions. So you're looking at it, you're time tracking how long it's taking you to do intake. The average law firm, it's 19 minutes per intake between answering the phone call, updating the CRM, handling the actual intake and getting it through the automation, moving through the stages, making sure there's the next action, what have you. So it's not just an intake call, especially when you're working in the personal service industries. And most people calling into a law firm have extreme anxiety and uncertainty and confusion. So the phone call alone is taking anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, including the time to update the CRM after. We take things like that for granted. So I want you to start by the time you get to that workshop, whether it be in 30 days or 60 days or whatever, based on where your calendar permits, and everybody calendar permits to have this mini workshop. By the time you get there, you will have so much data, information, and clarity in regards to the bullet points and the tasks, what's on there, what was not on there, that may still be in addition to that one role that you're serving in, because we borrowed the job description from the internet or AI, ChatGPT, or our buddy from the Bar Association gave it to the attorney or whatever it might be. Again, no shame or blame on it, but that's what we had to work from. And it was good enough at the time. Now we're going to make it intentional, impactful, so we can hit our income goals. So you have the bullet points, you have the job description by and large pretty much laid out. Now you're going to start your time tracking on the side, again, in preparation for the workshop. Again, I am always a huge fan of pen to paper because there's the psychology. It gets in your bone, your blood, your brain, and you take extreme ownership of it. And then by the time we get to that workshop, after you do the time tracking, now you're like, okay, is this realistic? We work 5 days a week, by and large, 8 to 5, give or take, always willing to stay and go the extra mile, of course. But for the exception, for the norm, not the exception, you're going to start time chunking it in your calendar if you're just playing with it. It takes 8 hours a week to do billing. It takes 9 hours a week to handle the marketing, whether it's digital. And you start time chunking it and trying to try on a time template right now. And by the time you get there, you have this holdover bucket of the things that you're like, there isn't time in the day. And no entrepreneur really wants to hear that. Like, we need to be more efficient. You need to be effective. We already handled that up until this point with the daily huddles, with the weekly stakeholders meeting, with everything. So that's not an excuse anymore. We are efficient. We are effective. We're on our way there, but you're giving the data and the information. Not that I'm complaining, not that I'm overwhelmed, not these emotions that cloud it, but this based on capacity. Then we get to make an informed decision. When everybody comes together, you're going to be at that whiteboard. I'm a huge visual person. I've had firms that use sticky notes and things of that nature and really have creative, fun ideas with it. But chances are there are multiple people that are touching multiple things that when we put them together, the things that are outside our job description or we didn't know about, and we put them all up on the whiteboard, that will give us business data and information for what our next hire is. It will tell us exactly where it would be extremely beneficial to hire somebody in the Philippines to do the case management, to do the billing, to do what have you. And that's a heck of a ROI and freedom because I could spend more time dialing for dollars and appointments and doing follow-ups and confirmations or doing event management or whatever it might be. So when we can clump all these together and have a general job description like an executive assistant or a legal assistant or what have you that can really own these collective parts of the process. Full-time, part-time, law clerk, intern, doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're increasing overhead, but we are being business consultants for the attorney and coming because they don't know. They're in the conference room, hopefully, counseling clients, closing clients. They don't understand how long it takes to do your job for a job that they most definitely never did before. And so now, or if they did it before, it was just them when they hung their shingle and they were the only one there to get their first couple clients and to get to the place where they could hire that first employee. The way they did it is not the expectation of how they want it done now. We didn't have a CRM. We didn't have workflows. We didn't have automation. There wasn't even social media back then. We weren't doing events. We weren't doing things. So yes, with technology and automations, things should be faster, quicker, what have you. But when the human side gets in it for the client communication and interaction and over communication and follow up and those things, those are what have gotten us to this place of being successful. Now, if we could double down on it and really get capacity freedom, this is our path to double our revenue. I've never heard in my history of, 25 plus years working with law firms that adding to the team and hiring when we are starting to feel the niggle and the groundswell of a capacity issue, that it was the worst mistake we made in our practice. Now, maybe it wasn't the right person for the role, but the actual addition and the extreme ownership for that role, even if it's a Girl Friday catch-all, whatever terminology is, there is an ROI because of the legwork that you all have done up until this point with audit of your job ad, audit of your job description, audit of time and money and capacity for each step within that description and the process, in addition to time chunking and starting to play with that. Now you're showing up at that workshop with data and information. So, conclusion and action plan. And this module is short, concise, intentionally. I want you to get to work on this. Job ad and job description for every person in the firm. Pull them out. Start getting them in motion and working with them. Number 2, scheduling a mini workshop on job descriptions for the entire firm, even overseas, even for virtual. 90 minutes, ideally 30 minutes from now, to tie a bow on this project. It's never a one and done, but it's in action, where we can go through the data and the analytics and see where we need to delegate and elevate, where we need to hire and outsource, where we have not enough time, not based on emotions and stories and stuff, but based on the number of clients and the PNCs we are servicing and processing hourly and daily. And then you're time chunking on your calendar and start really playing with this because, again, we have data and information to make an informed decision. That's a wrap for Module 4. Don't forget, share the recap video with your attorney, as well as you should be in the habit, well into the habit of creating and attending Open Coaching and Growing Hour. As we say, this is where the real learning and work is. And then pay attention to the calendar as always, as many of live events are consistently being added to there. If you are suffering in silence, if you are jammed up, reach out. Let's get you a call with the implementation call, because we want you to have another Rockstar Banner week, and we'll see you in Module 5.
Control freak, it's what my staff thinks. They may be right, because this treadmill of dread running through my head keeps me up at night. I'm so tired of micromanaging. How do I train, manage, and lead? I can't find time to be visionary, head down in the weeds. We're gonna tighten up this operation. We're gonna build a strong foundation. No more chaos and confusion. We'll build a team that brings solutions. I see what could be, and I can't wait. Law firm admin boot camp is the way. We're signing up today. Law firm admin boot camp is the way.